Hello, and welcome to this lecture about using Library of Congress subject headings to create a powerful, focused search for sources. Library of Congress subject headings are what we call a controlled vocabulary that includes specific phrases and words. In fact, the Library of Congress has a separate division whose job it is to come up with such phrases and words to describe topics, places, and people. Library and archival catalogers agree to use these and only these phrases when making catalog records for their institutions. This means that every book, article, map, and archival collection that has an entry in a Library of Congress subject heading compliant database is tagged with one or more of these subject headings. It makes targeted searches much easier than by mere keyword searching. Let me give you an example. I use World War I as a subject search topic for this lecture, but how many different names does that war have? Is it World War with the number 1 or with the letter capital I? Is it WW1? Is it the Great War? Or is it the First World War? The Library of Congress decided to use the phrase World War, 1914-1918. For a contrast, the Library of Congress subject heading for World War II is World War, 1939-1945. Whenever a library gets a new book about World War I, it adds it to the catalog with the subject heading World War, 1914-1918, possibly with subdivisions like you see on this slide. Subject heading searching returns less noise and more hits than keyword searching, but it takes place only in compliant databases. What I'll show you now is a technique for using keyword search to generate sources that then lead you to Library of Congress subject headings that you can click. We will access the WorldCat database produced by a nonprofit known as OCLC, a longtime leader in cataloging technology. It is the largest Library of Congress subject heading compliant database in the world. You cannot access WorldCat directly, but you can get there through the Troy Library website. So point your browser at the website trojan.troy.edu. When you see this page, click the Troy Libraries button here. That'll take you to the Troy Libraries homepage. Scroll to the area Databases by Name, then use the pull-down menu and click WorldCat. Then click the Go button. Sign in as directed and click the Login button. Because you chose WorldCat in the previous screen, the login will take you directly there. Let me make an aside here to say that the Troy Library system subscribes to scores of databases, many of which provide digital access to both secondary and primary sources. Now, you've probably used some of these, but don't discount the wider array. To get to any of these databases, you have to go through this login process. Having signed into WorldCat, you'll see a default screen which is the basic search engine. For the purposes of this demonstration, let's assume we seek sources about the origins of World War I. If you're trying to find at least one source about the origins of World War I, and you don't happen to know the title of any books about that topic, the most direct beginning is to use a keyword search in the title search area. Alternatively, you can use the keyword field itself, but when I practiced for this demo, using the title field reduced the noise ratio. After, you can click the search button at the top or the bottom of the screen. Be careful to avoid clicking the clear button unless you just crave frustration. The search you just executed produces a list of works that have some combination of the phrase in the title. As you can see from the All tab, this list has 271 items called hits. You're looking at the truncated record for the first hit, so scroll down to hit number 3. This title looks promising, but how do we get from here to clicking a more focused list of sources on the origin of World War I? Go ahead and click that title. Doing so takes you to the catalog record for that item. You see the top half of that record here. Scroll down for the list of Library of Congress subject headings. Look for the gray bar with the header subjects. Those listed as a descriptor are Library of Congress topical subject headings. There are other kinds of Library of Congress subject headings, including named persons, that is, people as subjects of the work, as in a biography, as well as geographical subject headings. The Library of Congress creates controlled vocabulary not only for topics, but also for people's names and the names of locations. In all cases, not only are the words important, but so are the punctuation and the spacing. Here are two other caveats you have to understand. Some catalogers use other vocabularies in addition to or instead of Library of Congress subject headings, such as the Art and Architecture thesaurus. Those will appear in this area. Some catalogers are less adept at Library of Congress subject heading than others, so sometimes they might make up their own headings. Remember too, that named conferences, genre form, and time are not Library of Congress subject headings, even though you may find them useful. So what Library of Congress subject heading seems most appropriate? I suggest checking out World War, 1914-1918-causes. See, the Library of Congress doesn't use origin, but it uses causes. When you click that link, you'll get a list of 12,229 works with that Library of Congress subject heading. You can see that number at the All tab here. Catalogers add a new record to WorldCat every second, so this number will be different every time you access the subject heading. You might find everything you need under this one subject heading, but an advanced researcher doesn't stop with just one list of results. Find another promising book. In this case, entry number 7's subtitle looks like it might have other subject headings of interest. That subtitle is How Europe Went to War in 1914. Check it out by clicking it and consider opening that new link in a new tab. Doing so shows you the item record, and when you scroll to the subject area, you see a number of things. You see the Library of Congress subject heading you just searched, World War I, 1914-1918 causes, listed along with other narrow topic headings. One of these concerns diplomatic history. Since the First World War was a crisis in international diplomacy, this might be fruitful to pursue to help you answer your question about the war's origins. But before clicking that link to execute an automatic search, look down below. You see this record contains geographic subject headings. One of them is Europe, Politics and Government, 1871 to 1918, which also might return important sources. Now you might ask, why are there repeated headings? Ignore those repeats. OCLC no longer has the resources to closely police errors and redundancy, and their display algorithms just don't filter spare entries very well. But the principles hold. If you click the subject heading of your choice, you will get a list of works tagged with that heading. Knowing how the Library of Congress subject headings and similar controlled vocabularies work allows you to understand how to conduct focused searches that produce less noise and more results. Remember the steps. Sign into the Library of Congress subject heading compliant database. The Troy University Library Catalog works this way too. conduct a search under the general keyword or title field. Find promising titles in the list of sources the database returns. Open the catalog records of those promising sources. Check out the info about the source. If it looks good, scroll down to the subjects area. Find other promising Library of Congress subject headings and click them. That will produce a new list of sources. Then rinse and repeat. This then concludes the lecture, and as always, thank you for your attention.